Hello world, my name is Emory, and it is a new year.
2019.
And you know what that means? That means I'm back in my bedroom with wet hair and the same terrible camera quality just for you. So what has changed? Nothing. Nothing has changed. Here I am standing in my bedroom. I'm going to talk a little bit about some trans stuff because that's all I care to talk about on camera. And here we go. So, having just passed through the holiday season, I've had a lot of instances that I want to kind of give tips about. And this video is going to be aimed at people who are kind of new to being trans, I guess. I'm kind of aiming to talk about people who haven't really gone through these experiences because I wish I knew these things before I got into these situations, and I didn't. And I want to share that to people who have no idea what they're doing because I'm sure that other trans people who have been this far along already know. So you can click off if you want to. It doesn't matter. Cis people and allies and stuff I want you to listen to because this might help you be better toward trans people in the future. I just recently hit my 1 year on testosterone. It'll be like a month ago in a couple days, so it's fresh. I just freshly hit 1 full year on testosterone. It's a low dose of tea, so I don't look like one of those like
Burly, huge beard men.
but that's what I wanted. So here we are. I look great. I have a newfound confidence in myself. And I say newfound because literally in the last 2 months has been the first times that I like looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, this is what we're working with. This video is going to be about misgendering and what I wish I knew about how to handle being misgendered and avoid being misgendered and that kind of stuff, especially going into family events or places where you're going to see a lot of people. Going into the holidays, I knew I was going to see a lot of people I don't normally see. Like a lot of friends will get together that don't normally hang out maybe to exchange gifts and stuff like that. You go see family, you're traveling, all of that kind of situation. I want to kind of give some tips of how to avoid being misgendered as much as possible because I did not realize, as I said, I'm a full year on testosterone. I did not realize that after being out for like almost 2 years or something. When did I come out, guys? I don't know. But after being out for over a year, at the very least, over a year and a half, I would still be being misgendered as often as I am.
Mind blown.
I went into the holidays thinking, I'm not gonna get misgendered this time. This is gonna be sick. Like, everybody knows who I am. They've seen my posts on Facebook. I've talked to people personally. I've been around people since my transition that I was going to see during the holidays, so I figured that everyone would have already known. Okay, but until very recently, I was really scared of correcting people for misgendering me. So, misgendering, I'm gonna define this word because I've had a few people lately kind of ask me what that means, and I wanna be very clear about what misgendering is and how it affects people. Misgendering is when you talk to someone or address them in a certain way that is not the same as what their gender actually is. So if I were to go up to my mom, for example, who identifies as a woman, and I said, hey sir, like, how are you doing today? That would be misgendering her. Or if I said, oh, mom said that he was going to do this thing, that would be misgendering her because I'd be using the wrong pronouns. So for me to correctly gender me, you would call me by they or he pronouns, preferably interchangeably, and don't call me ma'am or girl or lady or she or her. Anything like that is misgendering me, so it's not that hard. I have actually more options to gender me correctly than to gender me incorrectly, okay? So keep that in mind as we go into this video. Going into the holidays, I knew that I had already seen these people during my transition that I was going to be seeing during the holidays, so they shouldn't be misgendering me anymore. However, I was misgendered probably more often than I have been in the last 6 months, just seeing the people that I was seeing in the week span between Christmas and New Year's. Everyone was calling me like she and her pronouns, 2 people around me, and then I got called girl, I got called, I can't remember another one, but just like outwardly gendering me in a feminine way, and it just blew my mind. I'm trying to now go through the holidays and think about what I could have done differently, and I know that these things would have worked. Tip number one, if you are going somewhere where you know that a lot of people are going to be that may misgender you, I suggest that you send out like a mass text or email or a post on Facebook if there's like a group situation where everyone can see something that you've posted and they're all going to the event. I literally would go on there and be like, hey, just a reminder, here's my name, here are my pronouns, here's how to gender me correctly. Please like respect this. I wanted to warn you guys ahead of time so that you really know, and I know that you know what's going on. If you think that somebody's not going to see this post, let them know. So you're kind of literally putting the information out there and being a badass and being like, here's my information, take it. Period. You have no other option. This is how this goes. Putting the information out in a super public way.
There's a motorcycle. I hate motorcycles.
Anyway, putting the information out in a really public way where you have to be strong and be like, here's the information, I think is a really effective way of stopping misgendering, because people are more scared to misgender you than they are to not to gender you correctly. So like if you're very straightforward about something and you're like, here's the info, like do it, they're less likely to be like, oh, I forgot and stuff like that. You're giving the information, and basically there's no loophole for them to be like, oh, I forgot, or I never see you so I didn't know, and that kind of thing. So if you have that kind of opportunity, go for that. Step number 2, bringing someone with you who is going to be an advocate for you and having them stay with you the whole time you're at an event is really helpful as well. I had my mom actually and my fiance both with me during all of the holiday events, and both of them at one time or another stood up for me in certain situations where I was being misgendered. I can mostly defend myself, but sometimes I won't catch things, or I might feel too uncomfortable to say that someone is misgendering me in the moment. So having someone there who's willing to say, no, their pronouns are he, him, or something like that, to correct the person for you. Sometimes it's a lot easier to correct someone for someone else than it is for yourself. Tip number 3 is to follow up the holidays again, or whatever your event is, by re-messaging people who did mess up, because as much as I want to say don't expect people to misgender you, they probably will. And the only thing we can do is do our best to have it not happen tomorrow. So follow up that event and remember those people who misgendered you. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you can't forget. But remember those people who misgendered you, like write them down or something, and then after, follow it up with an email or a text or something explaining, hey, here's a situation where you said, quote, this. And you can even quote what they're saying, or you can be kind of more vague and be like, you said she, her pronouns for me a lot, and then give an example of how you would do it correctly. And just be really polite and patient about it, and say, maybe, I sent out this thing beforehand, and I guess you didn't seem to notice. Here's what you did, and here's what I would rather you do in the future. Step 4, I think sometimes, after you've drilled this into people's heads and said, no, you're doing this incorrectly, here's the way to do it correctly, and you're correcting them over and over and over, if they're still doing it consistently, like every time they talk to you, they're misgendering you after maybe a year, in my personal opinion, I think that you then have the option to stop talking to that person. Even if it's a family member, if it's someone you thought of as a really close friend, you have the option to step away and be like, you are damaging my mental health and making me uncomfortable, and I'm not going to deal with this anymore. And you don't have to notify them that you're not going to if you don't want to. You can, if you do want to, say, hey, you're damaging my mental health by misgendering me so often, and it seems like you don't care enough to put in the effort. You have an option to say that, or you can just be like, I'm going to step away, maybe delete them off Facebook or mute their posts or something so you don't have to consistently interact with them. And then if they notice that you're not communicating back with them or contacting them, you can say, I actually stopped talking to you because you were damaging my mental health. You were making me uncomfortable. You were not respecting me as a person. And you absolutely have the right to defend that and say, I have a right to be my own person and feel like I am respected and feel happy, and you were not promoting those values for me, and therefore I had to step away. If they think that that's disrespectful, it's not. So you can send them this video and say, Emory on the internet told me to do this, because I will take the heat for you. If somebody is doing this to you, I will take the heat. I'll go correct them. You just let me know and I'll do it. So those are some tips for the person being misgendered. If you're a person who loves someone who is trans, or someone who received this video because you are misgendering somebody, just listen to it from my point of view. Like all those tips that I gave, think about the fact that somebody would have to send out a mass text about who they are to their friends or family to get them to respect something about them. And think about, what if you had to do that? Because it's really hard to stick up for yourself in front of friends and family, because it seems like you interact with them every day, and you might, or frequently, and you might really respect those people, and you really want them to respect you back, and you have to do all this hard work in the background to try to feel like you're respected back. So if you're going to an event and you know that a trans person is going to be there and you can't remember their pronouns, or you know that they changed their name and you can't figure out what they changed it to or what their gender is or something like that, contact them before the event and say, hey, I want to make sure I don't misgender you during this event or when I see you next, and I want to know definitely what are your pronouns, what name would you like me to use, what kind of words for you, like girl or ma'am or sir, is it okay for me to use around you? And therefore, you'd be making them feel more comfortable and like you're making an effort to make them feel respected. And that's on you, not on them. So they can do everything that they want to try to get you to feel respect for them. However, it is your job to reach out to the trans person and say, hey, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. What can I do? I just think it's a two-way street. We all need to work harder to be more patient with each other, but also instill some confidence in other people to do what is the most right. So yeah, those are my tips. I just wanted to get those out there after feeling super misgendered after all of this time. I'm hoping that I can prevent this feeling for other people. So reach out to your friends and family, communicate, be patient, and love each other. That's all I have for this video. I'm hoping to get back onto YouTube as much as I can, which I'm not gonna promise any kind of schedule because I am a busy person and sometimes I can't think of topics. Wow, I'm a ghost. Sometimes I can't think of topics to talk about. So leave some video suggestions down below. I will look into them and try to do some research and post if I can about those topics. Ask me any questions or contact me. I'll leave my Instagram down below so you can DM me if you want to, if you have questions there. And I post more about my transition there, so if you're interested, that. Okay, like the video because this shirt is cool. Alright.